started in just a few minutes, guys. Alright, we're gonna get started. So you guys know last week that we talked about introducing my family and going down the journey in regards to our experience with DCS. So last week, unfortunately, my husband couldn't be in the video because he was busy working, but this week he is going to be in our video, and he is going to give you his perspective, his experience since dealing with DCS since 2020. So, but before we get on to that, tonight we are going to dig deep, well, not dig too deep, but start talking about our 2020 case and kind of how that shaped us and, you know, got us to where we are technically at right now, and how we're, you know, feeling about certain things and the actions that we're making. And so we're gonna start off with I believe it was in March of 2020. Well, let's go back a little bit before that. January of 2020, I had my youngest son, Skylar, on January 19th. And that pregnancy that I had was, it was horrible. I was having all sorts of issues medically, and he came early. We had to have a C-section due to complications. So right from the jump, I was having issues with my pregnancy with Skylar. Now, when he was born, we were having issues with him gaining weight. We were having issues, you know, I was breastfeeding at the time, so I was having some issues there. So we switched to formula. We were having issues there as well. Every time, you know, he would have a feeding, within 5 to 10 minutes, he would spit it up. And you may think, oh, just a little spit up, that's fine. But this was not just your traditional spit up. It was projectile spit up. It was insane. So we were trying to figure out what was going on. So my mom and I, at the time, we took him to the emergency room, and they did a spinal tap, and Skylar was only 2 weeks old. So we continued having problems. So let's fast forward to March of 2020. That is when the real trouble really started. My son, Skylar, went to Riley Hospital because he was having issues breathing. He was having issues keeping down the formula. And so it was horrible. The whole experience with it was horrible. And Then later on, within just a few days of him being in the hospital, we get a call from DCS telling me that I can't leave the hospital with my son, that we're gonna have to meet with them, things like that. So we thought, okay, well, we'll get this all cleared up in about a day or so, and that did not happen. Unfortunately, it was almost a whole year before we got our DCS case closed. One thing after another was happening. It was not great. The experience caused a lot of mental health problems for myself, for my husband, and for my kids. And ultimately, from March to June 5th, 2020, was when my son Skylar was illegally removed by the Department of Child Services. They did not have a court order. They didn't have any documentation at all. And at the time, my husband was my boyfriend. So he technically, legally, was not even allowed to hand over my son to DCS or to law enforcement, but we didn't know that until later on. My aunt, Joni, she was amazing support through the entire DCS case. She worked with the sheriff's department. She was just a great support. Her and her husband Clay, they were amazing. They helped us get the best attorney. They were really amazing. And just having support through this is what really helped us get through our 2020 case. And because at the time I had a 2-year-old and they did not remove him. And we were really confused on why they didn't remove him, because the accusation was I was not feeding my youngest. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm not going to feed one child, then why would I feed the other? It made no sense to us, but it is what it is. It happened. So I'm gonna hand off this conversation with my husband. He's gonna introduce himself. He's gonna tell you guys kind of, what his experience has been, and what he's had to go through when it came to DCS, because it has been pretty tough for both of us. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the ball rolling with him, and then we'll go to the next thing.
All right. Hi, y'all. My name's Joseph Turner. I am married to Rosalie. Very happily married, may I add. I got a few notes here. I kind of took them as we're sitting here, to be honest. I'll try to rotate it. Told me I couldn't, but just so I could stay on point with what I'm trying to do here. I'm going to introduce myself, kind of my background, what I've been through in life a little bit, so that in the future, when we do other videos, there will be a better understanding as to why we feel the way we feel and why we proceeded the ways that we proceeded with everything. Let's see here. So this is where I'll start. So back in 2007, I joined the Army. I was a military police officer, reserve for about a year. Changed my MOS to 11 Bravo Infantry. Active duty, went Fort Riley, Kansas, then deployed out to Iraq 2009, 2010. So during Iraq, I started having issues psychologically. Just a lot of stuff happened over there. I'm sure you guys have all heard kind of the story, right? I've kind of dealt with a lot of that. So ultimately, I got out of the Army in 2010 after my deployment. I come home still struggling. I didn't apply for any benefits for a little over 2 years in 2012. So kind of in the middle, I think around July, somewhere in there. Again, struggled with a lot mentally. physically, just a ton of stuff. Ultimately, for whatever reason, I decided to rob a bank. Okay, so I robbed a bank. After I was kind of getting away, a K-9 had got deployed, and tragically, I shot the K-9. His name was Magnum, Anderson, Indiana. You guys probably looked that up. Happened 2012, I think August, somewhere in that time frame, if I remember correctly. So that kind of changed my whole life, my whole outlook on everything. I ended up going to prison. I had a 12-year sentence. I ended up doing 4 with good time credit. I did a lot of programming. I stayed out of trouble. I did my time, tried to get back home to my other daughter. And so I was on probation for 6 years. Everything's done now. I completed everything. Everything's good. But during that time, I met my wife. And I met her at the end of 2019, very early 2020, I believe. And here we are now. We've dealt with 8 DCS cases from the time I met her until current time. The first being in 2020, I believe, started in March, right?
Yeah.
Right, and really from all the records we have, like we've hired attorneys, we've been through the ringer when it comes to DCS. Skylar was removed from me at my house, our house at the time, right? Hey girl, get up there and lay down. Luna, come on. Ultimately, we went to court. He was gone, I think, 5 months,
Right.
somewhere in there.
While we were pregnant with Ari.
And she was pregnant with my second daughter, Aria. And so, hey, Luna, come on now, you're distracting us, girl. No, no. Go put her in here for a minute. Luna, go in there. I don't care if I'm on Facebook Live. Go. Why don't you take her in there and just shut the door for a minute? Hard to stay on track. Anyway, so it's kind of my background. That's, kind of where I was at before I met her. And then we started dealing with, DCS, it seems like multiple times a year at this point. So we have records. We have pretty much everything. We haven't, we attempted to take legal action via not a Monell claim, a tort claim. I'm not going to drop names right now, but that's going to be future content, probably over on our YouTube channel. We started illuminating DCS corruption. So you guys maybe go over there, check that out. We're kind of still getting that up off the ground, but there'll be a lot of content there later. But we had an attorney take money from us and then never file. She gave us the paperwork and all the stuff as if she had done it. But basically she never filed the lawsuit. And so we never really got justice for that 2020 case. But then moving forward from that, we dealt with, multiple cases since that date. Like in 2023, huh?
I'm just saying, I feel like it's almost like they're harassing us.
Well, right. We really feel like every time we know our rights. And part of the reason we know our rights is because of what I have been through in my life. Military police officer. I dealt with going through a whole criminal case in court. I have a pretty good understanding of what the Constitution is and what the rights are of the people. And every time we exerted our rights to the authority figure, maybe DCS or whoever, they tried to compel us in court, but they never compelled us in a legal way. There's time frames that have to be met, and they never ever met the time frames. Ultimately, we've been to appellate court. We had cases dismissed up there, So we do have a legal standing that we are pursuing, but part of that is the journey that we've been on is really we want to help other people not go through what we have been through in their life with their children, and to understand what your rights are. And the fact that my wife, she started paralegal studies with Purdue Global, right? You know, because of all this, because we want to have the ability to help people that can't afford attorneys, that can't afford to drop the $60,000-$70,000 that we put in for attorneys to ultimately win our cases. But we still lost a lot of our mental sanity, our ability to be peaceful in our house, our ability to do, what we want to do with our children, because of the constant fear, looking over your shoulder, not knowing if somebody is going to call the people, as we call them, the people, the government, to come knocking on your door, bringing the police or whatever the case may be. And we understand that there is a need to have protections in place for children, but when you can just call up the state and basically terrorize people for it's insane to me. So we're doing this as an initiative to really try to help other people. We've already been through what we've been through. We already know what our rights are. We know how to exert and exercise our constitutional rights, both under state law and federal law. So it's not that moving forward that we're super afraid of these people, but there's a lot of other people out there that could use the information that we're going to be releasing. And so you also understand that we're not blowing smoke. We have all the documents. We have depositions we had done that we paid to have done. What's that?
Stuff from the appellate court.
Yeah, appellate court records. This is all, and it's public record. We in the future we're going to be releasing recordings. I have upwards of 125 recordings of interactions with DCS caseworkers, supervisors, pretty much any directors, everybody we spoke with, county sheriff's department, Madison County Sheriff, Benton County Sheriff, Boone County, DCS, just all these entities out there who really are there to protect the children and protect the people, but they, in our experience, have not done that for us. We feel like there's double standards. I mean, I could go on, and I know it's kind of, Saturday evening, Saturday night, people, you guys got stuff to do, which is why we're kind of breaking this. This will be going on for a long time because there's a lot of information. So we just ask that we get your support so that we can be in a place to help other people in the future in our community or throughout the state. Ultimately our goal is to have an advocacy center for people who can't afford lawyers, who can't afford to do all that. We do intend on funding our attorney to kind of help represent people. We have Cody Cogswell and Fisher's Garrison Law Firm. They'll be representing us on the lawsuit that we're filing finally after being burned a lot in the past. Again, not mentioning names at this point, but they will be coming out so that everybody knows who not to hire, who not to give your money to, and who does not have any integrity when it comes to representing you in court. Okay? So again, I hope you guys have a good night. I'm going to give you back to my wife, and I'm going to go stoke my fire. Have a good night. Thank you.
Hey guys, so he said a lot of great information, and so I want everyone to know we are going to dig deeper into our 2020 case next weekend on Saturday. And if you guys ever want to, check out our channel, Illuminating DCS Corruption. And please, if you can, share these live videos. Share them to everyone so we can get big subscribers, so everyone can see this. Because a lot of people have told me, hey, reach out to the news outlet. Well, I have multiple times, and no one's called me back. No one's emailed me, nothing. So I just want our story to get out there, because a lot of people do not take what we say seriously. And I come from a family of police officers, pastors. I grew up in a Christian home. My parents, oh my gosh, my parents are amazing people. Okay, and they are the biggest part of my support, including, like I said earlier, my Aunt Joni and her husband Clay. They are all amazing support. And I could not, probably would not have gotten through this if it was not for them and for my husband and my kids. And so, having said that, just tune in to next weekend, And like I said, check out our channel, Eliminating DCS Corruption, and share our videos, okay? And you guys can check out our YouTube channel. It's going to be great. So I will see everyone next weekend. Bye.